Hello everyone. I'm going to pull you guys up really quick and we are going to do a mini watercolor lesson today. So it looks like, oh, Facebook decided to switch the order that it was filming. Okay, hang on just a second. There we go. Right side up. All right, let me know how that looks to you guys. Is that good? I'm gonna aim it up just a little bit there. So I was inspired by, I was going through Pinterest the other day, and Pinterest is where I get lots of my inspiration. This was graphics that you can download, like clip art, but I thought this was the perfect thing to show you guys how to do some different watercolor flowers without ink, just using just our watercolors and then piecing them together. So I thought I'd use this as our guide to kind of show you a few different styles. And then my challenge to you is to then get, if you have watercolor paper, if not, you can use your mixed media pad. Take the techniques that you learned from the practice we're going to do on the flowers today, and then make your own design. It could be a wreath, it could be flowers in this corner and this corner, and then maybe some words in the middle, or you could just do like a little collection of flowers in the middle. So hopefully that sounds fun to you guys, but we had talked about wanting to do just a quick little mini painting, and we've only dabbled a little bit in watercolor. So I thought we would use this as a reference and play a little bit more with it. So I'm only using my number 2 and my number 1. And of course, water. So I'm gonna start with my number 2 to do some of these bigger ones. I'll probably use my number 1 to do the leaves. So I'm just gonna start getting some of my colors wet here. Of course, you can pick whatever colors you want. I've kind of got like a magenta. I've mixed my dark purple and that together. So just starting with like this one. And these are very similar to the way I teach you guys how to do flowers anyways. We're just doing it in watercolor. So you'll see some areas where it's a little darker and thicker, and you can come back and layer with watercolor. So less water in your brush, more pigment. And come back and lay that in. And then this one, we're gonna start just putting 2 brush strokes, almost like a V shape. Another little petal shape there. So I'm putting more pressure down and going around this way and just keeping with the curve shape. Totally fine for these to overlap. So this is going to be our center. I just haven't added black to it yet. And then this kind of, the petal goes, kind of opens up this way. So I'm kind of duplicating this one here. So I'm just going back and adding a few extra brush strokes in. And then we'll add a black little center to this one. So since I've already got my black and my brush, we'll come and we'll do this one that's kind of open. And just start with a black center. Let's do a lighter color. We'll try for a little peachy color here. So on the bottom part, just kind of brush strokes that curve down just a little bit on the bottom, and then maybe come up a little bit around the edge. Just a little brush stroke there. Then a bigger one, bigger petal here. And there's really no perfect wrong or right to these. It's just kind of giving the illusion of some petals opening up here. Maybe have it curve out just a little bit more there. And you can mix your watercolors too. Let me show you guys that. So to get the peachy color, this is like an orange, or like a reddish orange. So I grabbed a little bit of that with this really pale peach to get me that color. So don't be afraid to kind of mix your colors up a little bit while you're doing it. And then this one is just a bunch of these little curved brush strokes, and then it just kind of flares out on the end. So let's do one of those. So I'm gonna start in the middle here. I might grab just a tiny bit of black with my red to give it more of like a burgundy. So I'm just kind of rotating around. I'm going to go back with a little black just to add some contrast so it's not all the same. But you guys see what I'm doing? They're just almost like little parenthesis marks, just kind of rotating around. So this one's kind of opening up like that. So you can just kind of keep playing with it. And then we've got this one, a little bit different, more of like your basic petal flower. And these are fun just because they're all very free-flowing. You're just coming from the same center point here. So I'm coming from this point in the center. And it's got 5 petals on it. And again, don't be afraid to darken up your colors with a little black. You can tone it down a little bit if you want to. So you kind of get the idea of some different flowers that you can do. We'll do one more pale one here. And this one I'm gonna have more of like a yellow center to it. But it's kind of crazy when you start working with flowers, how it's just these little curved shapes and the brush strokes just kind of build the flower. And then we'll grab a little bit of yellow. I ruined my watercolor sheet. I dripped water on it. Grab a little bit of yellow for the inside. So very subtle. I like these because they're subtle. So those are some of my flowers. Now I'm gonna work on some of my leaves. And I'm getting a couple different types of greens wet here so I can bounce back and forth. I don't want them to all be the same green. So we've got this one that just kind of starts with curved line, so not a lot of pressure. I'm going to tone that down a little bit with some black here. And you can also, like, you can see this is really dark. I know I like that color, but I need a place to add some water to it to lighten it up and dilute it down a little bit. So you can use like a plate or a plastic lid. This is just the lid to my watercolors, just to get the consistency that I want it. And then we're just gonna come on and again, same thing, just these little curved lines. And this kind of curves out. And they don't have to come out of the exact same spot here. So this kind of flares just a little bit and then tapers back in. I'm just going to come back with a little of the darker in a few areas just to give some definition there. I'm going to darken up my stem a little bit. Maybe make this a little bit more of a point. There we go. Thank you, Laura. These are really fun to do. You guys should definitely pull out your watercolors and play with this. So now I want a little bit lighter. I'm gonna pull some of my yellow into my green. You can just practice these little brush strokes here, kind of taper at the end and push down. And again, if you want the skinny lines, just very light touches if you want to add some little grass or something coming out. And this one's really fun and easy, so we'll just add some quick little lines, kind of coming out like that. Make this one a little bit taller. And then we will come back with a flower color. Let's do blue. Let's copy them. And these are fun little brush strokes because you're kind of just doing quick little dabs down the sides of these. I want it a little bit darker, so I just added a little bit of black to my blue. And they don't have to connect to the flowers. Or I mean to the stems, not the flowers. So I'm just kind of aiming out away. And some can be bigger than others. Maybe bigger ones on the end, like that. And then just some basic leaf shapes. So just kind of starting, that is way too bright for me. Add some yellow to this. So just curved little shapes like that. Then, like this one, these are a little more rounded. So you could do some little leaves like that. I need to tone down this green. I'm gonna grab a little bit of brown. So if your colors are too bright for you, just get like a neutral. You can tone it down with that. Or you could add a little red to it if you want to do opposite of the color wheel. On the color wheel. And then just pull these little stems. So that just shows you some different little accent marks you can give to the flowers. So let's jump over here. I messed up and got I wonder if I can flip this over. I might save this one for something else. I'm gonna get a clean sheet that I didn't mess up on, because I want to do mine in the corners and then leave it open in the middle, and I'm gonna add like a verse or a word or something on the inside of mine later. I gotta go back to Casey's lettering and practice a little bit before I put it on my final piece. So I'm gonna start, I think, with like a little bit of greenery. Then I'm going to switch back to my number 2 and add some flowers in here. So we'll just add a couple different ones. I'm going to start with kind of a bigger one. And it's okay for these to overlap each other. I think I want another little small one up here. So if you leave a little white in the middle, that just kind of adds some definition too. I'm going to put black in the centers of all of mine. I kind of like them that way. Now I have a better idea of where my flowers are. I can come back and maybe add another leaf coming this way. Maybe make that one come off the page a little bit. So it's just kind of practicing. I'm going to turn this just so I can get a better angle. So you can practice, get your design down before you commit to something on your watercolor pad. And you can use Pinterest as a guide to give you inspiration on some designs you want to play with. But just looking up like watercolor floral clip art, you'll see tons of ideas that you can do. I don't think I left myself enough room for words. Now I'm trying to decide what I want to do. Maybe I'll just do a few kind of down this side and leave just a little opening in the middle. So what do you guys think so far? Let me know if you like the watercolor lesson or seeing some ways you can add some flowers in. So you could leave these just like that if you wanted and not add the black center in. So it's just kind of preference on what kind of flower you prefer. Both are pretty. So when I want to go back and add, like you were talking about, Laura, kind of the shading, it dries so fast, and then you can just get more pigment on your brush, and then you can go back and add just a couple, and you don't want to completely cover up your whole flower, but it gives you that kind of definition. And you could keep going with these. You could make them really big or leave them tiny. But super fun to play with. I might have, let's see. Need a little more water here. I'll pick up a little bit of my yellow. I'm just playing with it, trying to decide where I want my leaves to come out. Obviously the whole thing is not showing. But you kind of get the idea. This is not exactly how I wanted it to turn out. I meant to leave, I need a bigger piece of paper because I make things too big. But you get the idea. So this is just a fun little project. And like I said, you can just do it in your mixed media pad if you don't want to mess with watercolor paper and get some, you know, base ideas down. It would be fun to even do like a little, here, let's use this other one. We'll just do this really quick. If you wanted to, instead of like doing them in a corner like that, what if we did just a very, I'm just going to make this really quick. I'm going to try to stay small here. We'll see if it works. But you could do like a little bouquet of flowers also. have some kind of opening up here. Maybe get a little bit more purple. And varying the size of your petals. So some are really large, some are small. I'm gonna add maybe some, we'll see if this is the color I want, some of like yellow, a little bit of yellow mixed in. Maybe grab some of that peach with it. And then you could add just little accents of colors too. I can't decide what color I want to add up here. Maybe another purple. I'm going to come back in and add some black in the center of some of these. Maybe some little background greenery coming out. So the difference with acrylic and watercolor is the overlapping. You can overlap a lot more with acrylic without them, you know, like, it's because the watercolor is so transparent. And maybe we'll add like a little bow down here at the bottom. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas on what you want to do with yours. All right, so that's it. I could keep playing with this all day. You can go back and add, that one's a little see-through, so I'm going to go back and add some more accent color to it. But that's the fun thing about playing with watercolor, is you can keep going back and layering if you want to add more definition. Make that a little bit heavier there so it covers up more of the stem. Maybe do the same thing with this one. Mine's a little transparent for that. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I can't wait to see some practice work. And if you decide to make like a little bouquet, or maybe just do one corner of a little piece of paper, and you could put a word over top of it, but those are some examples of like some corner pieces that you can do. So let me know what you guys think, and I can't wait to see them.